What's up, everybody? Almost ready. Okay, I think I've got everything lined up. I think I'm good to go. I'll get started. Laughly, good to see you on Twitch. Frozen, good to see you on Twitch. You're probably going to show up on the YouTube side as well. What's going on, Ray? On the YouTube side, good to see you. Hope everyone had a good weekend. A lot's going on in the world. A lot happened over the weekend, so I hope you're all staying safe out there. Thanks for hopping on the stream. And got my coffee, as per usual. The only way to get through the day. We'll get to some incredibly depressing tech news. You've come here to be uplifted. I have bad news for you. I am an arbiter of doom, not happiness. You've come to the wrong stream. Ray on YouTube, I have trouble with studying and coding for open source projects when I work 9 to 6. Any advice? Yeah, you have to make sure that you have enough rest and that you're tackling something you're actually passionate about. That'll drive you. If you don't really care about the thing you're doing, then you're not going to find much energy for it. So maybe consider that the thing you're studying with open source and whatever might not be the most motivating thing for you. Consider that. Aside from that, just sheer discipline. It's just discipline, which is abundantly lacking in our society these days. What is Palantir, Frozen? I know what Palantir is. Look, Frozen, I'll tell you what. Just do your own research. I'm not prepared to get into it right now because that leads down a very particular road. I'm not prepared to go down that road right at this moment. What I can say is that I will be bringing Palantir up in future streams. But I have to get through a particular set of things first before I broach that topic. It's a very touchy topic. So I'll get there. But just for the time being, you're just going to have to find your own way through that, all right, Frozen? You have to put on your big boy diapers. Get through that. All right, shall we get to the news? You guys ready to be depressed? Okay. If you have a psychiatrist you go to, just call him up and say like, "Hey, I'm gonna need you today, like overtime." All right. So I've got a whole slew of different kinds of news articles, so we'll get started with the stuff that we normally do. We'll do some cybersecurity stuff, and then we'll dig into some AI stuff and so on and so forth. We'll see where the winds take us. Let me pull this up. If I go over here, all right, there we go. I think that's showing up. Yeah, it is. Fake DocuSign Git code sites spread net support RAT remote access Trojan via multi-stage PowerShell attack. I will basically summarize it. If someone sends you a DocuSign link or you see a Git code link or something like that, please be triple, quadruple sure that you're on the right website. It's really straightforward. We've seen this before 100 times. I don't think I need to dwell on this. I'm just kind of raising the awareness that this is happening. Even some of the domains that are being used by these hackers looks legit at first glance. It looks like maybe there's a document you have to sign. Just use your brain. Ask whether or not the domain is correct. Ask whether or not you even have a requirement to sign any documents. I mean, that would be the first place. Same with Git code. Anything that has to do with having to review code on like a Git repository or anything like that on a website. Just be really, really careful, because once you trigger this, then it opens up all kinds of stuff on the back end, because we all know that security is nothing if not a joke these days. So be careful out there. All right. Now, I've talked before about security issues, and in particular, in relation to this article, security issues that go on for sometimes over 10 years before they're even discovered. And this is but one of them. And if you think about it, the security issues that you have to be scared of are the ones you never hear about. Those are the real problem ones. It's not the ones that get exposed and people use them and all of that and you figure it out. Because once they're exposed, the likelihood of them getting patched, it does increase. Not by a lot, but at least to some degree, right? However, critical 10-year-old Roundcube webmail bug allows unauthenticated users to run malicious code. Yeah, so Roundcube is a webmail service that typically runs on like shared service hosting providers. And there's a 10-year-old bug here. It has its own CVE now. It's got a CVE score of 9.9 out of 10. It's a post-authenticated remote code execution via PHP object deserialization hack. And what this means is that if you are using a shared host of some kind that uses Roundcube here, this flaw, this 9.9 out of 10 flaw, imagine going to a restaurant and having a 9.9 out of 10 meal. And this flaw has been out there for 10 years. So how often has this flaw been exploited, to what degree, etc., etc.? All right. All right, let's see. Oh, Laffley's right. Where is my counter? You're right. Let me just check that real quick. Oh yeah, here we go. We'll see. Okay, so it's gonna be 1. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Laffley, because it's gonna play in here. Okay, so if I do that, now the counter should show up. There we go. Okay, so there's the counter. It's set to 1. I'm glad you did that, because we have some articles. We have some articles. All right. All right. So let's get on to the next one. This one here has kind of a funny name. Android Trojan Crocodilus, now active in 8 countries, targeting banks and crypto wallets. A growing number of malicious campaigns have leveraged a recently discovered Android banking Trojan called Crocodilus to target users in Europe and South America. All right, so essentially, it's a piece of malware that once it gets access to your system, obviously to your Android system, it obviously begins to do all kinds of nefarious things. However, this one's kind of a bit narrower. Instead of just grabbing whatever data it wants, it's really targeted towards banking data and cryptocurrency stuff. So I just thought I'd bring this up because we talk about cryptocurrency a bit. And I thought it was kind of interesting that this one is in particular a very targeted type of malware for Android. But I can see why, right? There's money to be made there. It also has internal obfuscation, which made it hard to determine how exactly this works. And there is a variant of it, and I thought this was kind of funny, that will add a specified contact to the victim's contact list upon receiving the command. I'm not even sure exactly what this is supposed to be, this particular TRU9MMRHBCRO. I'm not sure what this is for, but I just thought it's funny that when that command comes in, all of a sudden you have a contact in your contact list. I don't know. Sure. Anyways, just be careful again out there. There apparently there's no apps that contain the malware, but it's not hard for you to accidentally download it from different places, right? All right, up next, along the lines of crypto and banking and all of that, Cryptojacking campaign exploits DevOps APIs using off-the-shelf tools from GitHub. That's how easy it is these days. That's how easy it has become to attack all kinds of stuff. You just pull off-the-shelf stuff from GitHub. So there's a cryptojacking campaign that targets publicly accessible DevOps web servers, such as those associated with Docker, Gitea, and HashiCorp, Console, and Nomad to illicitly mine cryptocurrencies. What they do is they use misconfigurations and vulnerabilities to deliver the miner payload. Now, this isn't exactly like an S3 bucket thing, but it is an open cloud bucket that is misconfigured and publicly accessible. They use this to inject their malware into these open systems because of these misconfigurations. They do mention the Docker stuff that I did cover last week, and then they start mining for crypto. So to that end, I am considering that as a 0.5 hit to our daily counter. So we're going to go 0.5. There we go. So we're at 0.5 for the counter here. If you work in DevOps or sysadmin or anything like that, please check the configurations for all your cloud services. Okay, this stuff is not only more super prominent 60 episodes of the Daily Tech News Stream. But if people can just pull off the shelf tools from GitHub in order to access these things, benefit from the misconfigurations, etc., it's really not hard. So, please button it down. And for consumers out there, if you're watching this right now and you're not necessarily a programmer, you're just watching this maybe because you found your way over here as someone who uses technology and is frustrated with it. I just want you to be aware what I just described is one example of how easy it is for your data to get leaked, because companies and programmers and everything in between do not put enough emphasis on security, and instead they focus on quick wins, shipping things fast, etc., etc. And that is your information and your dollars being put to that kind of an effect. So I just want you to be aware of that as well. Now, if only Ross was here. Ross on Twitch and X usually is super depressed when I bring up these things, but he's not here, so we'll just have to make do without Ross. But here we go. Over 8 million records with U.S. patient medical data have been spilled online. There are 2.7 million patients and 8.8 million appointments that have been left publicly accessible online. Now I wonder how public? Where did this come from? Oh, an unprotected MongoDB instance, which falls under the category of cloud database bucket. So you know what's going to have to happen now. Now we have to change the counter yet again. So let me go back to the counter, and now we're at negative 1.5. Things are heating up. So this information includes names, dates of birth, emails, addresses, phone numbers, gender, chart IDs, language preferences, billing details, appointment records with patient metadata, timestamps, and institutional references. How did it happen? It stemmed from a common and often overlooked vulnerability where databases are left exposed without proper authentication due to human error. It's a recurring blind spot that continues to haunt companies of all sizes and across various industries. Yes, 60 episodes, and our counter is tallying up. And mind you, I just want you to be aware that our counter does not include previous episodes where we've had exposed buckets like this because of misconfigurations and people not tackling their stuff properly. There's Ross. Ross, it's good to see you. This is for you. Just in case you missed it. I don't know if you missed it, but this one's for you, Ross, on the Twitch side. Ross is special. He has a special place in the medical field on the Twitch side. Okay, 8 million records with U.S. patient medical data have been spilled online for 2.7 million patients, and you can see the data leaked here. And we've had to decrement the counter below me to minus 1.5. That's how bad this has become. So there you go, Ross. You're welcome. All right. I'm sick of seeing the what was leaked list. They're the same every time, and it's horrible. Yeah, Laughley. Yes. Like it's getting tiresome. It honestly is getting tiresome. Now, let's keep going. I think I have one or two more health-based things, but let's switch gears for a minute. If you like Cartier, I have bad news for you. Cartier was hacked and customer data was stolen. All right. So the French luxury house, known for its billionaires and its diamonds and its fanciness, unfortunately, was accessed by threat actors. The only thing they got apparently was names, emails, and the country of residence. No passwords, credit card numbers, or banking information was compromised. They do have they are apparently, as according to this article, they were still working on figuring out what the heck happened and locking everything down. And then I do have a follow-up article because I'm a bit behind on the news, folks. It's difficult to keep up, honestly. They continue to talk about this, and they confirmed again in a follow-up article that important information did not get released. So I'm inclined to think that they probably have a handle on what happened. They do talk about Marks and Spencer, which, by the way, we're going to talk about as well. But one step at a time, hold your horses, we'll get there. So if you're a Cartier, say, enthusiast, you might want to keep an eye on that. Now, here we go, more health stuff. Hacker attack on mental health org exposes patient diagnoses. Wonderful. The Georgia-based Mental Health Association were breached, and the breachers took patient-sensitive details, including diagnoses and prescribed medication. They are unidentified, and the networks have been breached since as early as December 2024. Obviously, the company's doing the standard stuff. Let's look at forensics and figure out what the hell happened. They may have gotten their hands on numerous sensitive patient data points such as names, addresses, social security numbers, financial account information, dates of birth, driver's license numbers, medical diagnoses and conditions, medications, medical record numbers. So one more time, this kind of information is exactly the kind of information that enables people to generate specific and targeted campaigns against you personally by using this personal information. The end goal, I just want to be clear, especially to people who might be watching who are not, again, in the tech field, right? And you're just watching because you're a consumer and you're trying to understand what the hell's going on. And I am literally the only person who's talking about this, okay? I am a paragon of, multifaceted news. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm tooting my own horn unnecessarily here. But look, this isn't the end goal for a lot of these hackers. They use this information to continue their attacks, and they target people with this information. So if they find somebody who, say, can give them access to even more kind of like wanted information, then they'll target you. They'll use this information to like make up stuff about you or get you scared, and then continue their kind of like blackmailing essentially. And then they just continue their hacks, and it just continues and continues and continues. So it's sad to see this, especially when you consider the fact that people's mental health should be a very personal and private kind of thing. Well, I mean, any health data should be, but right. What's up, Laughing Panda? Good to see you. What's up, Jay the Developer? Good to see you both on the Twitch side. By the way, if you're watching on any of the other platforms, whether it's X or LinkedIn, Rumble, YouTube, whatever, I do see all your chats, so you guys can feel free to chat away. We have this critical Chrome update. Hackers are exploiting a dangerous 0-day. So there's an emergency update. There's a 0-day vulnerability. This was a few days ago. It has been updated. So make sure you get the latest update. Now, essentially, it's a problem with the V8. There's an out of bounds read and write. So what these people could do is they could literally point you to a website just by visiting the website. Literally, the only thing you have to do is visit the website. They can then do an out-of-bounds read and write on the JavaScript V8 engine inside of Chrome, and they can read memory data that they shouldn't otherwise be able to read. Now, I don't actually know how long this has existed, but it's marked 8.8 out of 10. Who knows how long it's been out there in the wild? Also, who knows the other browsers, right? So Chrome is the only browser so far that is known to have an update that patches this. But if you're on Edge, on Microsoft Edge, there might not be a patch for this because it's running the V8 engine under the hood, right? So it's really questionable, and just make sure that you're up to date. All right. All right, let's go to the next one here. But really quickly, Jay the Developer on Twitch. Happy birthday, man. Thanks for popping in on your birthday, brother. I appreciate it. What's up, Unholy Diver? Another reason why web browsers need full sandboxing. I kind of would be okay with that. Actually, no, it's okay. It's okay. Generally I would be okay with that. You really don't need web browsers to be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. The web browsers and JavaScript has gone way too far into. It's jumped the shark. Like what do you? Anyway, let's keep going. All right. And one more time, happy birthday to Jay the Dev. By the way, drop W's in chat or ones in chat for Jay the Developer on the Twitch side. It's his birthday. Might as well give him a happy birthday shout out. TechCrunch fires all European editorial staff members. This one in particular isn't exactly like a programming thing. Just one I wanted to bring up. What's happening here is that they've essentially laid off all of their editorial staff members in Europe. I could not find evidence that this is due to some kind of AI based thing. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they're just not making as much money as they were hoping to make. It's not clear to me. I couldn't find concrete information on this. I also admittedly did not have enough time, so maybe there is concrete information and I just didn't find it. That's also possible. I'm only one man. I literally have to do everything myself and work and take care of my family. So I did the best that I could. I just wanted to bring this up. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but it is what it is. Now, along the same lines, though, and this does tie into the tech industry, Microsoft quietly signs off on more layoffs, culls staff at LinkedIn. So they've laid off around 6,000 employees. So that was in mid-May. Actually, we covered that. That was before. What's happening in this case is a lot less. It's somewhere in the first three here. Where is it? This one here. Microsoft fired 281 staff at LinkedIn. In Washington State, 305 workers will leave their positions at Microsoft by August 1st. Now, again, is it AI based? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's AI based. I'm not sure what's going on with this. I don't really know. But it's just one more I don't know, one more set of bad outcomes for people who are not going to have jobs. I did try to see who exactly was let off, because you kind of want to know the work, like the roles, I guess you want to say. Were they all programmers? Was it like a bunch of HR people? Was it general office staff, things like this? I couldn't find anything that clearly determined that it was any particular type of role, so I don't know. And as a result of that, I can't really say whether this is an AI thing. But based on historical trend of how Microsoft has been doing layoffs in the past few months, at least, or the past year, I would say it's probably in line with that. This comes from an internal Microsoft layoff, scaling up to stuff that Microsoft owns. So it's bad news for the job market. I kind of feel bad because people are losing their jobs, and we're in such bad shape in such a variety of ways. We don't know how to hire programmers anymore. The hiring process is broken. The ability to maintain developers has been broken for a long time. I don't know. There's just so much crap going on. This is just kind of like a bad thing. Emma owns LinkedIn. Yeah, now you know that. Yeah. Fire them all. Shut it off. Yeah. Okay, so to further the bad health news, the US FDA unveils AI tool aimed at speeding up scientific review processes. Nothing can go wrong with this, right? Nothing can go wrong with this. Having the FDA use AI to speed up the scientific review process. Now, I will try to be fair. If it's the case that the FDA will use AI and then have somebody who have at least one credible human being to confirm the outputs of AI, that's not so bad. And in some cases, that actually works really well. For example, I went over a study 1 or 2 weeks ago that showed that when doctors used AI to detect breast cancer, and you had the doctors rigorously, and I mean vigilantly and rigorously, check the AI detection outputs, the breast cancer detection rates went from something like 70 or 80 some odd percent for just the human detected ones to above 90-95% with the AI enhanced ones. But it required that a human check all the potential outputs that the AI gave. I would be okay with this if that's the case, but I have no idea if that's the case. So what they're calling this thing is ELSA. I have no idea why they called it ELSA. What a stupid name. And essentially what they're going to do, they're going to receive scientific papers with regards to, of course, what the FDA is known to regulate, which is essentially, drugs and other health stuff. And the AI is going to give them some kind of, summary and whatever, and then they're going to determine whether it's a good thing or a bad thing and make decisions based on that. That is very ripe for issues. Let me pull up a follow-up article. Unfortunately, this tool got rushed out. It was released weeks ahead of schedule, according to some people who have been on the inside using it and seeing how this is played out. Their goal was to accelerate clinical protocol reviews, shorten the time needed for scientific evaluations, and identify high-priority inspection targets. However, they basically sold it. It was a sales pitch. So when the FDA said, hey, we're going to use this new AI ELSA thing, they were actually just kind of selling the fact that they were going to do it because it was like a FOMO move. They didn't want to lose out on the AI hype. And so they said, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Now, unfortunately, what that means is that they moved too fast. They didn't properly test it. They didn't confirm that the actual usage of it was going to do the things that they claimed it was going to do. It's your typical tech bro sales tactic. in the FDA with AI. This happens all the time. Nothing new under the sun here. And I'm not surprised. What I am, however, is concerned. I'm concerned that the brains at the top, who seem to be smooth-brained and think that this is a good idea, are going to use AI and push for it in this use case, because it's too late. We sold it. Now we got to commit, and the results will be, well, the FDA is going to be recommending stuff that might not be so good for you and me. Now, speaking of AI, because I have so many haters, I have a bunch of haters, and they all say things like, I don't bring enough positive news. Okay. Well, I've got news for you. It's not positive. Screw you. Screw you. Boffins found self-improving AI sometimes cheated. Yes, instead of addressing hallucinations, it just bypassed the function they built to detect them. So essentially, there was a scientific study that was done, and by UBC, my backyard, and what they tried to do was see if there was a way for an AI system to kind of rewrite its own code, optimize itself, so that it could improve itself. And they found that there is one way that it actually does improve itself. What it does is it does specific forgetfulness, right? So what it'll do is it'll adjust its own code and its own kind of internal mechanisms and forget things inside of its own black box, inside of its own code and prompts and whatever, that are not relevant to the goals that the AI system wants to achieve. And they did find that when it does that and kind of adjusts itself, there is some improvement in the output of AI systems, right? And so, hey, that's kind of cool, right? It can kind of readjust itself. But then there's a problem with that. When they tried with Claude 3.5 Sonnet using this mechanism that they were trying to figure out, Claude would claim that it was running Bash, which is like a command line hacker thing. If you don't know what that is, like just imagine all the TV shows where the guy's like typing in, hacking away on a terminal there. That kind of like that. That the Bash tool. It used a Bash tool to run unit tests, and then it would show output from those unit tests, like as if it had actually run it. I've actually experienced this. I've had, I can't remember which model, tell me that it literally ran CPU performance tests on a MacBook, I believe. And it would literally tell me that. I ran this test on a MacBook, and here are the results. It's like, no, you didn't. And as a result of this, let's say, self-adjustment, what ended up happening was that the LLMs actually just created more hallucinations on top of existing hallucinations. So not only did they produce hallucinated outputs of results of prompts, but then they would just hallucinate how they even got those outputs. It would just make it worse because it just kind of self-adjusted them. And the self-adjustment came as a result of the goal orientation of these LLMs, which is, I want to give you the best answer possible. So I'm just going to adjust myself to make up stuff, right? Or just pull information that matches what I think would make you the happiest user of me. So it didn't quite go as planned here. Okay, so that was not so great. However, I do have good news. Right? So for all the haters, there is something that AI is good at. It detects contaminated construction wood with 91% accuracy. So this was another study that was done by the Monash University and Charles Darwin University. And indeed, based on what I could tell, AI was really good at sorting out which wood was rotted and which wood was still good, which means that when people are doing all kinds of stuff, whether it's construction or whatever it is, landfills, things like that, and there's a whole pile of wood everywhere, you can use an AI computer vision model, and it will determine which pieces of wood are still good to pull. And then you could have, a robotic arm pull it. And that way you could ensure that you're not throwing out good wood. Just saying, right? Okay, so there's some good news for you, okay? AI does have some good use cases. So it can expedite articles or journals, link back to the documents it creates to justify its response. Yeah. Yeah, frozen. So you can imagine that somebody, I think this is what happened with me. Somebody posted on a Reddit post that they used a Mac with a specific CPU architecture to run a test that I was querying about. I can't remember what the model was. Might have been ChatGPT. And because that was in the data that it accessed to answer my question about some metric I was trying to get, it said, I actually have run this metric on a Mac machine, and here are the metric outputs that I ran on this machine. It's like, no, clearly you didn't. And it would tell me, like, it just continued to tell me I didn't push back on purpose. Once I pushed back, then it's like, oh, you're right. I couldn't. Okay, now I've often talked about third-party systems, third-party libraries, packages, code, etc., which is essentially the handing off of your responsibilities as a programmer, as an executive, as a manager, whatever it is. You rely on someone else to do the things that you should be responsible for doing. That's not always bad in all cases, but when you look at the outcomes of doing that, it's mostly bad. We should really be far more careful about handing off our responsibilities to third parties. And yet again, another article, U.S. Community Bank says thieves drained customer data through third-party hole. Disclosure at Main Street Bank shares comes as American finance orgs beg for looser reporting requirements. So there was a third-party provider, and as a result of this third-party provider, this bank got breached. And the breach resulted in a siphoning off of approximately, it looks like, a few $100 million potentially. I couldn't find anything that was clear about it, but based on what I could tell from this article, it looks like the breach allowed somebody to get access to the bank and then siphon off portions of funds to an account. Again, it was difficult for me to tell. They did have to disclose it, obviously, to the SEC. They complained about issues with reporting. The forms are apparently restrictive, make it difficult to do these kinds of reports. But my issue in terms of the scope of tech is the fact that this is another third-party issue that a bank should have at least been far more vigilant about. Or I'm just going to say, why shouldn't a bank pay to be in charge of their own security, to invest in their own security? Look, no one's going to care about the security of your bank more than the bank. It seems common sense to me. But in any case, this is the way that tech is. We just abscond our responsibilities to third parties. And part of the reason that we can do that is because as much as we cover articles like this where doing so leads to, whoops, well, I guess now I have to report it and now we have to deal with it. Oftentimes it also leads to not my problem because I wasn't the one who was responsible for it. I pulled in a third party or I paid a third party to do it. It's their problem. It's just super lazy ways of dealing with stuff that you should be dealing with. More health issues. Hackers claim massive data breach at American Hospital Dubai. Yeah. So a ransomware gang stole 450 million records from patients of one of Dubai's most prestigious hospitals, and they're threatening to leak them. The ransomware gang has exfiltrated approximately 4 terabytes of uncompressed data, and some of the sample data appears to be primarily financial in nature. So this is a sample of the data. patient demographics and personal contact information, patient credit card number, billing history, and Emirati ID, clinical history and diagnostic records, detailed reports on patient health issues and treatment plans, not plants, detailed report documents made by AHD for patients. The compressed size is 700 gigs. The uncompressed size is 4 terabytes. There's some of the sample data right here in a nice, easy to use database to get access to all kinds of stuff or to review the data. Again, another instance where this kind of data leads to, it's not the end goal, right? This isn't the end goal of the people who have this data. The end goal is to sell the data or to use the data to blackmail and manipulate other people with targeted further attacks. This is a never-ending cycle on repeat where everything gets recycled inside of this, let's call it like the hacking, cybersecurity, nefarious aspect of the industry. It's really, really sad to see this because there are a lot of people here who do not deserve the amount of issues that they're going to have to face as a result of these hacks. And again, another, who is responsible for securing this data? Okay, switching over a little bit. If you've been watching the last, I would say probably 3 weeks, I think, I've been covering a few news articles, particularly in France, where cryptocurrency owners are being targeted with exactly the kind of data we've been covering already. For example, just the last article with the health data. People will find this kind of data, they'll buy it or they'll find it online. And then what they'll do is they'll map it on to people who have money, because there's financial information, much like exactly the very last article we just went over. And cryptocurrency heads, for example, if they're heads of an exchange or if they happen to be wallet holders with lots of money, they are targeted. There have been kidnappings, tortures. Somebody lost a finger as part of a torture campaign in order to get access to their wallet account, etc., etc. And it's getting so out of hand that CEOs are now learning self-defense because they're worried that they're going to get kidnapped. So I don't really think I have to go over it very much, but you can understand, it's a very short article, but you can understand how serious this kind of thing is. There are real world implications to the code that we run, to the way that we handle the code that we run, to the way that we secure the code that we run, to how seriously we take responsibilities around the code that we create. And we don't take it seriously enough. And as a result, you have people who say what you might about people with money and the rich and all of that. That's not relevant to this. What I'm saying is real people are affected. In this industry, we can affect people's lives to such a great degree that some people can even lose their life. This is very serious stuff. And you have to imagine yourself being somebody who thinks that their life is in such danger that they have to learn self-defense. It's funny, it's a funny haha thing, but imagine that you are so scared that this is actually happening as a result of all of the issues that I'm covering here, that you have to learn self-defense and you always have to be looking over your shoulder. It's ultimately, it's not really a funny thing. It's just kind of like a, I don't know how to, ironically funny. I'm not sure how else to say it, but it's very serious stuff. And it's not only the rich who are affected by it, okay? We're all affected by it. That includes your loved ones, okay? So you do have to take it seriously. This one here, Cyprus Airways customer data systems breach, hackers claim. So there's some hackers who got into Cyprus Airways. They got, plus 45 gigs of data. What kind of data did they get? Email addresses, names, surnames, travel dates, amount paid, document information, phone numbers, and other details, which is not really determined here because the sample data doesn't show, very much in terms of what other data there is. Now, how long have they been in here? I don't think that's known. They had a sample that's as recent as June 3rd, 2025. But that doesn't mean that that's when they got access to it. It's just the most recent sample. So I don't know how long it's been since they've had access to this data. As far as I can tell, they're not threatening, they're not asking for like a ransom demand or anything like that. They just have it. It's out there. It is what it is. If you've ever used Cyprus Airways, well, good luck. Let me see. There's one more here. Okay, yeah, this is the last one on the cybersecurity ones, and then we'll get into a few more, few topical, more like in-depth ones. Crooks fleece the North Face accounts with recycled logins. Outdoorsy brand blames credential stuffing. So these crooks, these cronies, okay, these ne'er-doers, I don't know. They broke into customer accounts using login creds pinched from breaches elsewhere, much like the breaches that we've already covered multiple times on this very stream, episode 60 alone. So it was a small-scale credential stuffing attack. And because they got passwords from other services, potentially, from other users on other services, what they did was they just took the same password and they just tried it again, tried it on different services. And they got access to North Face accounts, and away they go. Now, the login data originated from a breach unrelated to its own systems. Do you mean a third-party system, North Face? Do you mean a third party yet again? The account information that may have been accessed, full names, order histories, shipping addresses, preferences, and, if saved by the user, dates of birth and telephone numbers. The attackers might have already had access to email addresses and passwords because that would be the requirement to log in. So it's like, at that point, it's like, well, who the hell cares, right? But there you go. If you've ever paid for anything with North Face. Now, here's the deal. It's not just the North Face website. This, in particular, these kinds of retail stores, it's not just you go onto the North Face website, you go into Victoria's Secret website, you go into Cartier's website, you purchase something on there, and as a result of using the website, now they have access to that. It's not just that. You have to remember that if you go in person, you're sometimes asked to give your email because you're going to get asked to apply coupons and other benefits. They want to order history. If you've forgotten your receipt, they can, match it to your email, your phone number, whatever information you give them. So even in person, going to North Face, going to Cartier, going to wherever, if you've ever given them your information of any kind, then there's a history of it on their database. So from a consumer perspective, this isn't just I logged in and purchased online. This is I even if you go physically into these stores, these kinds of breaches absolutely affect you. Yes, Laughing Panda, I found a new word. This high school dropout found a good, like a fancy word. Abscond. Abscond. All right. A couple of, yeah. Don't hurt myself. I'll try. We'll dig in a little bit deeper. I'm not going to enjoy bringing this one up. This one does not. This one in particular really. Yeah, I don't like it. Let's do it. Let's just do it. 1 in every 50 children in the U.S. becomes a victim of identity theft. Parents can often be unwitting accomplices. Crooks use children's identities to access credit and loans or apply for government benefits. Approximately 1.25 million children in the U.S. fell victim to identity theft between July 2021 and July 2022. This is approximately $1 billion in total losses. These incidents surged by 40% between 2021 and 2024. This is not these kids grow up and end up being victims of identity theft. This is literally cyber criminals using the information of a child to get credit in loans or apply for government benefits. Usually all they need to do it is basic information like name, birth date, social security number, and maybe some other piece of ID. Here we go, national personal identification number, yeah. And because these are children, the identity theft goes on for years before anybody notices. It usually doesn't get noticed until the child becomes of age, and then they go to open up their own like bank account or get a loan or get their own IDs, full grown adult IDs, whatever, turn 18, and then all of a sudden there's a problem and they realize that someone's taken their identity for sometimes years. Now, parents participate in this, unfortunately, and they do so unwittingly. Or I'm kind of going to lean into this a bit. Parents should not be doing this. If you're a parent and you're doing this, you're an idiot. Parents will share children's birthday details, names, and addresses in social media posts or images. You're an idiot. I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. If you're doing this with your child and you're posting this kind of information online, you're an idiot. I don't think I can say that enough. So unfortunately, parents do this to their own kids because they don't know how to keep this kind of information private. It does not belong on social media. It's not a requirement. There is no amount of, whatever clout you want to get by showing off information about your child. Nothing is worth it, right? So then these kids grow up and they have to deal with debts that they never incurred, denying them, having to figure out who stole their identity, going through all the legal processes. Sometimes it means that they can't even get their proper IDs, adult IDs, without going through timely and financially costly processes. I mean, it's really, really bad. And 1 in 50. I know it seems like a small number, but I just want you to go into, imagine you went into a school, just pick any school really, and just take 2 to 3 classes. I mean, it's depending on where you live, it could even be almost one class. That's it. Just one kid out of that class at any given moment is going to suffer from this. And you just repeat that over and over and over and over and over again. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. It's really sad to see that. My kids, when they went to a hospital for an emergency hospital, had a hack. Great. Frozen. Added them to my CC, monitor their score since they were kids. Yeah, good idea, Frozen. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. If you set up some monitoring for your kids' identities even before they're of age. Absolutely. You used to be Captain Idiot sharing pics with family abroad. Yeah, don't do that. Don't. First of all, it's not necessary. Okay, it's absolutely not. Nobody needs to see that. And second of all, that the world is not just your little bubble of people, friends and family who are, happy and joyful to see it. There are people who will absolutely take advantage of this, right? Don't be naive about the state of the world and the kinds of people that are in it. All right, now, in kind of a funny thing, this is kind of funny and not funny at the same time. A few weeks ago, the UK got hit by a series of cyber attacks. I mean, one after another after another. It was almost on a daily basis at some point. It was a very compressed set of attacks. And it started with companies like M&S and Harrods and Co-op in a very, probably 3 or 4 day time span. And they all got hacked and information got leaked. And then a few more hacks happened in the UK, and it just kind of continued and escalated over the weeks. Now, M&S, as if things are not bad enough for them. The hackers are ridiculing the M&S CEO. Now, unfortunately, I actually can't read. I'm not even sure if I can show what they said because of terms of service. I might actually get a ding. If you want to know what they said, I would say go look it up. I'm kind of going to skip it here. But essentially, they ended with, we've completely obliterated you. You're dumb, essentially, right? I'm paraphrasing here because they did use terms that I can't say. Like, I can't say it. So there's a class action lawsuit against M&S. All right. There's I know there are some class action lawsuits at least being prepared for some of the other retailers that got hit. And this is definitely one of the biggest data thefts, even though financial information was not taken. It's just due to the sheer amount of information that was taken, right? They're going to receive a fine, potentially up to hundreds of millions of dollars. And so just to add a little salt to that wound, the hackers are like, well, let's just mock you a little bit. So if you want to know what they said, you can look up this article. It was spicy. Yeah, it was the spicy one. Okay, let's dig into a few more here just before I end the stream. Okay, so we're gonna dig into this one, and then maybe one more here. I used AI-powered calorie counting apps, and they were even worse than I expected. Some of the results out of this AI-powered calorie counting app is pretty funny. I thought we'd go over just a few of the funny spots on this. So essentially, there's this app that there's actually two, I believe. Actually, there's more. But you take a picture of whatever you're about to eat, and it's supposed to calculate the number of calories. And it's the selling point is, why would you need to go look up a database of stuff and fill it in yourself every time you eat? So you can do calorie counting. So you download the app, and then, yeah, right here, you create an account. First red flag. The app cheerfully informed me that losing 10 pounds is a realistic target, except that losing 10 pounds would actually push me into underweight BMI territory. Gee, what a shocker that AI is not nuanced enough to understand that, even though you give it all the data that it needs to understand that. That's such a shocker. Color me shocked. So the process is you take a picture of your food, ideally against a plain background, make sure all the ingredients are there, have a reference object for scale, upload the image, wait for the analysis, correct any issues with the output, and then save it to the log, right? Now, I started my testing with something simple. A pink lady apple weighing 222 grams. Surely this would be an easy win for the AI. Apples are among the most photographed foods on Earth, with a distinctive shape and color that should be instantly recognizable. Cal AI confidently identified my apple as tikka masala. So right. Like, this is basic stuff. This is so basic. A child can do this. A child can do this. Is this an apple? Now, then they tried a salad here, right? The app estimated the entire salad dish at 450 calories. It was laughably low. A single can of chickpeas contains about 400 calories, and my portion included roughly that amount plus significant quantities of feta cheese, several tablespoons of olive oil based dressing. A realistic calorie count would have been closer to 8 to 900 calories. The math doesn't add up. And this just continues on and on and on. Even the calorie count for the apple was off. Okay, and then the author tried a different application, an AI based calorie counting application, also failed, didn't even try. This is the kind of stuff that AI produces. And I want you to think about the amount of money we're spending. We're spending approximately $8 billion a year just for the data center power alone. Just for that alone. To get AI that barely does this. It's it's pathetic, honestly. It's pathetic. Okay. Um there is one more that I wanted to go over. I think it's this one here. Okay, here we go. So companies have been doing this return to office mandate. It's a very popular thing right now where companies are like, nope, you can't work remotely. You have to come back to the office. I'm going to argue that if you're mandating that and you haven't given it much consideration aside from we want people in here, you're probably not capable of managing your office workers very well. And I mean that in the narrow field of programming. However, people are actually kind of sick and tired of having to go into the office for basically no benefit, because that does happen more often than you think. The benefits are low, and if properly managed and you train people well enough, you can actually get quite a lot of benefit out of remote working or even hybrid. There's apparently some kind of rebellion of office workers against this. So, researchers at King's London College, so this is in the UK, and King's Business School analyzed more than 1 million observations from the Labour Force Survey and some 50,000 responses from the Survey of Working Arrangements and Attitudes in the UK. This gave a clear pattern of the trends between early 2022 and the end of 2024, highlighting growing worker resistance to rigid office mandates. 42% said they would listen and go back on site for 5 days a week. This is down from 54% in early 2022. The percentage of staff insisting they'd rather look for a new job than return to their current employer's office full-time rose to 50% at the end of last year, up from 40% in 2022. Women were more likely to resist RTO mandates, return to office mandates, with 55% saying they'd look for a new job and 9% ready to quit outright by late 2024. Among men, 43% said they'd job hunt and 8% would quit. Among mothers with young children, only 33% said they'd comply. Of course, that makes a ton of sense. The percentage rates weren't specified, but the study found Black and minority ethnic respondents expressing higher rates of compliance with going back to the classic 5-day-a-week on-site schedule, possibly reflecting job insecurity and workplace discrimination. That's kind of a bold claim over here. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's a little bit of a bold claim. I'm not sure how you jump exactly to that conclusion. I think they admit that it's, they use the word possibly, right? Okay, so they're kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but it definitely, depending on who you are and where you are in life, these kinds of mandates definitely have a different visceral feel as to whether you would like to comply with such things. So something's going on, at least according to the UK stats here, where people are not happy with return to office mandates. I completely understand why. And I think that companies are going to lose out on good workers if they continue this very kind of narrow path towards mandating it. I think companies have to invest in their own ability to manage remote workers. It is 100% doable. It can be very effective. Everybody can win from doing it. But of course, we have kind of dumb decision makers at the top of these companies making these kinds of decisions, including from a study that we covered, I believe, 2 weeks ago, where a lot of people, at least in the last 6 months, it was since 2022, I believe, people who worked remotely were far more likely to be entrepreneurs. And I guess if you're like an executive, or a manager at a company, you don't want your employees jumping ship to start their own company, especially if they're competitors, right? So, an RTO seems quite appealing in that case, right? But I think it's the bad move to make. Instead of, enforcing your will, there are alternative methods where you can get the kind of results you want and everybody wins, right? So I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. I don't think the RTO is going to stay as strong as it is now for very long. I don't think it's going to go away, but I do think it's an indicator that companies have no idea what the hell they're doing. They don't know how to deal with this kind of stuff, especially when you have programmers who probably don't need to be in office, all the time. They just need to be focused on getting their code out the door, and you can absolutely set up communication so that it's very effective with remote work. Anyway, I think that's it. I think those are all the articles I wanted to cover today. I do have more, but there's no time. I'm trying to keep these to an hour. I'm already over here. So I'm going to have to catch you guys tomorrow for the next set of articles. I think tomorrow what I'm going to do is I have the Stack Overflow 2025 survey. I'd like to go over that one, but it requires just a little bit of time. So it might mean that I don't go over some of the other articles. I might have to shorten the other types of articles for tomorrow. So I might do that, but we'll see. But I want to go over this one. This has some interesting stuff. I kind of want to cover a few things. There's been some interesting things here. So we'll see. I might do that tomorrow. But either way, one way or another, I'm going to see you tomorrow for the next set of Daily Tech News. Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate it. I don't know if my schedule for this week's going to be very different than most weeks. I should be pretty much on time around this time, just like I usually am with the Daily Tech News all week. I don't know if I'm going to have time. I don't think I'm going to have time actually this weekend to do a video game stream. As a matter of fact, I know I'm not. It's Father's Day. And I have stuff going on. That's right. So you're not going to see me this weekend at all, but you'll see me for the Daily Tech News on the daily throughout the week at one point or another every day. We'll keep covering the news. I have a huge backlog of stuff. It'll be fun. I think that's it. Yeah. Thanks everybody. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone, who's watching, all the support. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, repost, do all the algorithm stuff that I hate, but is required to expand the reach of the message that I'm trying to get out there, which is the tech industry is in shambles. It's an absolute shambles. We can and need to do better, and we need to do it very quickly. We're on a bad path. And I hope to persuade more people and arm more people with this kind of information, so that they are better equipped to understand what the hell's going on out there in tech, vote better with your dollar, and persuade others around you that we need to step up our game with security, programming quality, performance, all that stuff, right? Help me to expand that message by engaging with the stupid algorithms, with the brain rot algorithms. That's the only thing I will ask. I do have a tip link at the end, at the ending scene here. It's a Streamlabs tip link. If you do want to support financially, I appreciate it. I pay for everything myself. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to keep that up. Honestly, it's tough. So, I'm very grateful for all the financial support should it come my way. But the only thing I ask is that you actually do engage. I think that's the most critical thing. So that's it. Stay safe out there, folks. Thanks again. I appreciate it, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Oh, right. No. I'm sorry. There's one last thing. Yeah, right. I just got a call. From the hospital nearby, and they leaked out all the information. And apparently, they have all this information of like chat viewers who need a non-suck pill because they all suck. So I'm just gonna read off this list of chat viewers who suck and are therefore prescribed the non-suck pill. Unholy Diver, you're on this list because you suck. Laughfully, you're on this hospital list because you suck. Hey Frozen, you're also on this hospital list because you suck. Laughing Panda, you need the unsuck pill because you suck. Sergeant Pepper, the FDA says you definitely need the unsuck pill. Sergeant Pepper, you suck too. You're also on this list. Jay, the developer, I know it's your birthday, but you don't get to escape this. You suck too. And there's a special AI-approved FDA pill to unsuck you. Okay, Ray on YouTube, you suck too. You need the unsuck pill as well. You all suck. All of you suck. Every single one of you sucks. I'll see you tomorrow so I can tell you how much you suck.